the two champions over 200 metres, but Lyles is never to be denied his shining moment. He has the last word.
Something big just happened in American track and field. For the first time in years, the United States relay teams are actually working the way they should, and Noah Lyles, Sha'Carri Richardson, and Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone are right in the middle of it all. Let me explain what's going on. The U.S. track team just won 4 out of 5 gold medals at the World Championships in Tokyo. That might not sound like a huge deal, but it is. The American relay teams have been a mess for 20 years. But now, something has changed. And it's all leading up to the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. Here's what makes this special. Both the men's and women's 4x100 relay teams won gold at the same big competition. This has only happened one other time in the past 10 years. The stars who helped make it happen? Sha'Carri Richardson, Noah Lyles, and Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone all ran anchor legs and brought home gold. But winning these races is just part of the story. What really matters is how they fixed a broken system. Robert Chapman works as the Chief of High Performance Operations for USA Track and Field. He asked a really important question. We always have great talent, but do we have the culture in place to allow the talent to achieve what they're capable of? His answer after Tokyo was clear. He said, "I feel we took a solid positive step to nailing that process and getting that established." So what changed? Everything, actually. Before this year, picking who runs on the relay teams was a total disaster. At last year's Olympics, 8 different people had a say in who made the team. 8 people. All of them had their own opinions. All of them had their own favorites, and nobody could agree on anything. Chapman said, "There's always been involvement by a high-performance committee, and we've had contractor coaches making decisions. It wasn't exactly straightforward. We tried to reorganize and restructure how we do relays. For 2025, they cut that list down to just 2 people. Wallace Spearman, a former U.S. sprinter, and Amy Begley, a distance runner. That's it. 2 general managers who make the decisions, and everyone else stays out of it." This simple change did something amazing. It let the coaches focus on what actually matters. Chapman said it keeps coaches out of politics about team makeup and allows them to focus on fundamentals of what really matters, like passing the baton. Now here's where things get interesting. The old way of doing things wasn't just messy. It was costing America medals. The men's 4x100 relay team went 20 years without winning an Olympic medal. 20 years. They finished second in 2012, but that medal got taken away because of a doping violation. Since 1995, bad baton passes have cost the U.S. men in 7 World Championships and 6 Olympics. That's 13 times they messed up when they had the fastest runners in the world. Carl Lewis knows this better than anyone. He won 2 Olympic relay gold medals for America. Before last year's failure, he told the Associated Press exactly what the problem was. He said, "The issue has always been politics, has always been drama, has always been deception. If they can eliminate those things, there's no question they have the fastest team in the world." Well, Tokyo proved Carl Lewis was right. On a rainy final night in Tokyo, the United States won 3 out of 4 relay races. The only loss came in the men's 4x400 relay against Botswana. And honestly, that race was incredible to watch. Botswana is becoming a real force in sprinting. They had Colin Kebenat-Shipi, who just won the 400-meter world title. They also had Letsile Tebogo, the Olympic 200-meter champion. Rai Benjamin ran anchor for Team USA and got the baton with a small lead. But Kebenat-Shipi caught him right at the end and won by just 0.07 seconds. It was Botswana's first relay win, and they earned it. But let's talk about the wins. The women's 4x100 team has now won 4 straight gold medals at major competitions. The first one was an upset over Jamaica back in 2022. Jamaica had their own baton problems that day. The last 3 wins have all had Sha'Carri Richardson running the anchor leg. And here's something really interesting. This year, Richardson was actually struggling during the season. Melissa Jefferson-Wooden won gold in both the 100 and 200 meters. But the team stuck with Richardson on anchor anyway. Why? Because they had a plan and they trusted it. Wallace Spearman explained the new system. He said, "We sent out depth charts so people knew exactly where they would run. We made sure athletes weren't competing for a spot in the final. We said, this is the order. This is your job. You handle your job. And if you don't like your job, then don't get on the plane." No drama, no politics. just clear roles and clear expectations. Spearman called it a culture change that created the least amount of drama he's seen since he started working with the sprint program in the mid-2000s. The men's 4x100 team also came through. They've now won at the last 2 World Championships, though they did mess up at the Olympics last year. In Tokyo, they got a bit lucky because Jamaica had problems in qualifying. The Jamaican team had Oblique Seville and Kashane Thompson, who won gold and silver in the 100 meters. But Jamaica didn't make it to the finals. Noah Lyles was pretty chill about the whole thing. Noah said, "I didn't have to do much. These guys took care of business. They made sure the handoffs were clean." It's a little anticlimactic, but at the same time, it's a great feeling because you know that the job has been done. Then there's Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone. She's on a completely different level right now. In the women's 4x400 relay, McLaughlin-Levrone got the baton from Aaliyah Butler with a huge lead. Then she made it even bigger. The American team finished in 3 minutes and 16.61 seconds. That's a championships record. They beat Jamaica by more than 2.5 seconds. 2 nights before that race, McLaughlin-Levrone ran the 400 meters flat in 47.78 seconds. She became the first woman to break 48 seconds in almost 40 years. So of course everyone started asking about world records again. The world record in the women's 4x400 relay is 3 minutes 15.17 seconds. The Soviet Union set it back in 1988. That's ancient in track terms. McLaughlin-Levrone said, "We're getting closer and closer. It's going to come eventually, and it's just about the right situation, but tonight we're happy to walk away with a gold medal." Now here comes the big question. Is this success real, or will it fall apart again? Relays are tricky. Even with all these wins, the U.S. team has missed out on gold in 17 out of 41 major relays since 2015. That's a lot of disappointment for a team that has more talent than anyone else. But Robert Chapman isn't worried about short-term results. He's thinking about the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. Outcomes matter. But at the beginning of the quad, we wanted to focus on the process. If we nailed the process and dropped the stick or got beat, then I'm okay with that. But if we win and have a messed up process, then we're not making progress on what we need to do for 2028. And speaking of 2028, this is where things get really exciting. The Olympics just announced a brand new event. The 4x100 mixed relay is coming to the Los Angeles Games, men and women running together on the same team. This has fans around the world pumped up because we're going to see combinations that were never possible before. Think about Team USA for a second. Noah Lyles won gold in the 100 meters in Paris. He's a 3-time Olympic medalist and has been on the podium at World Championships 7 times. Sha'Carri Richardson won silver in Paris and is the reigning world champion. Now they could run on the same relay team together. Add Fred Curley, who won the World Championship in 2022. Add Gabby Thomas, who has 3 Olympic gold medals. This is the kind of dream team nobody could have imagined before. For Team USA, everything is lining up perfectly. They fixed their broken system. They're winning again. They have the best athletes in the world. And they'll be competing at home in Los Angeles with 6 relay gold medals up for grabs instead of 4. Now, the question isn't whether America can win. The question is whether they can dominate like never before. Quincy Wilson is breaking world records and making professional athletes look slow. This is the story of how a high school student became the fastest teenager in history. Let's start at the beginning. Quincy Wilson comes from Potomac, Maryland. He's just a regular kid who goes to Bullis School. But when he steps on the track, he turns into something completely different. His parents, Monique and Roy, noticed their son was special early on. When Quincy was just 8 years old, they moved their entire family from Virginia to Maryland. Why? So Quincy could train at the best school possible. That's how much they believed in him. And they were right to believe. When Quincy was only 14 years old, he broke a record that had stood for 30 years. Think about that. A record older than most of his teachers had been teaching. He was just getting started. Fast forward to 2024. Quincy is now 16 years old and still in high school, but he's not running against other high schoolers anymore. He wants to compete at the Olympics. In January 2024, Quincy started showing everyone what he could do. He ran the 500 meters in 1 minute and 1.27 seconds. That was the second fastest time ever by a high school student. He missed the record by just 0.02 seconds. That's like blinking your eyes. But here's where it gets crazy. In March 2024, Quincy went to Boston for the New Balance Nationals Indoor Championship. This is one of the biggest high school track meets in the country. He won the 400 meters with a time of 45.76 seconds. That time wasn't just good, it was record-breaking. It was so fast that if Quincy had run in the World Indoor Championships that year, he would have finished fourth. Let that sink in. A high school kid competing against the best adults in the world and finishing fourth. Then came April and the famous Penn Relays in Philadelphia. This is where things got really interesting. Quincy was running the relay with his teammates from Bullis School. During the race, one of his teammates got tripped and had to chase down the baton. They were way behind. Quincy got the baton for the last leg. He ran so fast that he almost made up the entire gap. His split time was 44.37 seconds. That became the fastest high school 400-meter split ever recorded at Penn Relays. Ever. But Quincy wasn't done yet. He had his eyes on something bigger. The U.S. Olympic Trials. June 2024 arrived. Quincy showed up at the Olympic Trials as a 16-year-old kid competing against grown men, professional athletes who train for a living, Olympic champions, world record holders. In his first race, the preliminaries, Quincy ran 44.66 seconds. That broke the under-18 world record, a record that had stood for 42 years. Just like that, gone. 2 days later in the semifinals, Quincy did it again. He ran even faster, 44.59 seconds. Another world record. In just 2 days, he broke the same record twice. Now, here's what makes this even more amazing. The only person who ran faster than Quincy that day in the preliminaries was Quincy Hall, who would go on to win the Olympic gold medal. A high school student was running times that only Olympic gold medalists could beat. Quincy made it to the finals. He finished sixth with a time of 44.94 seconds. That wasn't fast enough to make the individual Olympic team. But the coaches noticed something. This kid was special. So they added him to the 4x400 relay pool. Just like that, Quincy Wilson became the youngest male track athlete ever to make a U.S. Olympic team. But wait, before heading to Paris for the Olympics, Quincy had one more race. In July, he competed at the Holloway Pro Classic in Florida. This was against professional runners, no high school kids, just pros. The race came down to the wire. Quincy was going head-to-head with Bryce Deadman, an Olympic athlete. They crossed the finish line almost together. Quincy won with 44.20 seconds. Deadman got 44.23 seconds. Only 0.03 seconds separated them. Quincy had just beaten a professional Olympic athlete and set another world record. He was now the sixth fastest 400-meter runner in the entire world for 2024, faster than Michael Norman, one of America's best sprinters. The only American faster than him was Quincy Hall, the world leader. Let's put this in perspective. Quincy was still in high school. He couldn't even vote yet, but he was ranked ahead of Olympic athletes and professional runners who trained full-time. Then came the Paris Olympics in August 2024. On August 9th, Quincy ran in the heats of the 4x400 relay. He was the leadoff runner. He handed off to Vernon Norwood, then Bryce Deadman, then Christopher Bailey. The team qualified for the finals with a time of 2 minutes and 59.15 seconds. The next day was the final. The coaches made a decision. They didn't put Quincy in the final race. Instead, they used Christopher Bailey, Vernon Norwood, Bryce Deadman, and Rai Benjamin. The team won gold. They set a new Olympic record with a time of 2 minutes and 54.43 seconds. They came within 0.14 seconds of the world record that had stood since 1993. Because Quincy ran in the heats, he earned a gold medal too. At 16 years old, Quincy Wilson became the youngest track and field Olympic gold medalist in history. Read that again, the youngest ever. After the Olympics, most people would take a break. Not Quincy. He kept training. He kept racing. He kept getting faster. In December 2024, he set a new personal best in the 600 meters. In February 2025, he ran 45.66 seconds indoors and beat professional runners again. Then came July 2025. Quincy traveled to Memphis, Tennessee for the Ed Murphy Classic. This wasn't a high school meet. This was a professional race. a World Athletics Continental Tour event, the big leagues. The lineup was scary. It included Stephen Gardner, the Olympic 400-meter champion from the Bahamas, one of the best 400-meter runners on the planet. Quincy lined up in lane 5. The gun went off. He ran smoothly through the first 200 meters. Then, in the final stretch, he pulled away from everyone. When the time flashed on the board, people couldn't believe it. 44.10 seconds. Quincy had just run the fastest time ever by an under-18 athlete. He beat the Olympic champion. He beat every professional in the race. His closest competitor, Bryce Deadman, finished in 44.39 seconds. Quincy won by 0.29 seconds. That's a huge margin in the 400 meters. After the race, Quincy talked about his performance. He said, "Staying to my coach's plan and trusting his process. I feel like this season is really starting to come upon what I've been working for right now. But being this good and this famous comes with challenges." Quincy now has 393,000 followers on Instagram. People recognize him everywhere. Some people cheer for him. Others try to bring him down. Quincy talked about dealing with fame. He said, "I feel like when it comes with being who I am, the fame and everything has gone up and escalated. I'm just thankful for it. Every single part of it. You'll have the goods and you'll have the bad. But those are the things that make Quincy Wilson. That's the mindset of a champion, taking the good with the bad and using both to get better." So where does Quincy stand now? His time of 44.10 seconds makes him the 4th fastest 400-meter runner in the world for 2025. He's also the 2nd fastest under-20 runner in history. The only person faster, Steve Lewis, who ran 43.87 seconds at the 1988 Olympics in Seoul when he was 19 years old. That record has stood for 37 years. Quincy is only 0.23 seconds away from that world under-20 record. At the rate he's improving, it's only a matter of time. Let's look at how fast Quincy has improved. In 2022, when he was 14 years old, he ran 48.41 seconds. In 2023, he got down to the mid-46-second range. In 2024, he broke into the 44-second range. In 2025, he ran 44.10 seconds. That's a drop of more than 4 seconds in just 3 years. In the 400 meters, that's incredible. Quincy still has decisions to make. He hasn't decided if he'll go to college or turn professional. He's only 17 years old. He's still in high school. But he's already accomplished more than most athletes do in their entire careers. The Australian sprint scene just got a major shakeup. At only 16 years old, Uwezo Lubenda is making waves with a performance that's impossible to ignore, and his latest message to Gout Gout says it all. Confident, fearless, and lightning fast, Lubenda isn't just chasing Australia's next sprint star. He's challenging him head-on and proving he's ready to take over the spotlight. At the Queensland Representative School Sport event, Lubenda did what no one has done in 15 years, shatter the under-16 100-meter record. His time? A blistering 10.35 seconds, breaking Hugh Donovan's 2010 mark of 10.73. That's not just fast, that's Olympic trajectory fast. And if you're Gout Gout, Australia's current sprinting phenom, this is more than a headline. It's a wake-up call. Gout Gout, now 17, has already made waves. From smashing the 10-second barrier twice in a single day to representing Australia in the 200 meters at the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo, Gout has been widely seen as the future of Aussie sprinting. But Lubenda's arrival has changed that narrative. Suddenly, Gout has competition, not just for national titles, but possibly for Olympic glory in 2032 when Brisbane hosts the Games on home soil. Both sprinters have their eyes locked on that event, and both come from remarkable backgrounds. Gout's family moved to Australia from Sudan 2 decades ago, and his rise from humble beginnings to elite sprinting has earned him a high-profile deal with Adidas. Reflecting on his contract, he told GQ, "It was crazy. The number kept getting higher, and I realized how much these companies think I'm worth. That sponsorship allowed him to focus entirely on training, no side jobs, no distractions." But now, he's not the only name making noise in Queensland. Uwezo Lubenda, born in January 2009, came to Australia from the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2013. Fast forward a decade, and he's standing on the track, gold medal in hand, after leaving the field in his dust. Man, I feel amazing. He told the Townsville Bulletin, "I was kind of hoping for a time like that. I wasn't thinking too much about it, but I'm really grateful." What's even more stunning is that his 10.35-second sprint would have been fast enough to pass the preliminary heats at the 2025 World Championships, where Gout himself competed. While Gout's best 100-meter time at 16 was a scorching 10.17 seconds, Lubenda is just one stride behind, and he's already talking long-term. "My goal is 2032 Brisbane," he said. "I got my eyes on that." Gout, for his part, ran 10.17 seconds at the Australian All-Schools Championship in Queensland last year, an unofficial 10.04 seconds that was aided by a tailwind beyond the legal limit. Even so, his raw speed and consistency as a junior put him firmly in the spotlight. Now, Lubenda's consistency and explosive race execution at just 16 have put him in that same rarefied air. This isn't just two fast kids chasing dreams. It's shaping up to be a genuine rivalry, the kind that can define a generation. In Tokyo, Gout ran 20.22 in his 200-meter heat and 20.36 in the semis. Solid times for a 17-year-old, but not quite finals material. Still, the fact he made it that far at such a young age is no small feat. Yet, as he trains for 2028 in Los Angeles and the big stage in 2032, he now knows there's someone else chasing that same spotlight. And that someone just sent a loud message by breaking a record few thought would fall anytime soon. The comparisons to Usain Bolt are already flying, and while that's a heavy crown for any teenager, there's something undeniably Bolt-esque about Lubenda. Tall, explosive out of the blocks, and humble yet confident. His coach kept it simple. Stick to your rhythm.